Hello, I'm Rob, and welcome to the Geek Show. And before we launch into the episode for real, it's probably essential that I do this little recording beforehand. This episode, the audio for this episode was recorded about an hour or two before the E3 cancelled news dropped. So I have to put this here because without it, the episode feels really dated before it's even actually being released. So I give it a fair shot. Here I am, explaining myself, explaining the show. But please do continue to watch on as we talk about E3, coronavirus, wrestling shows, sports events, video games as sports which aren't video games, and before ending in a nice old advert for the indie game. So it really does sort of bounce around quite a lot this week's episode, so I'll hand over to that. Hello, my name is Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to Impossible Mission here on the Geek Show, because it's impossible to talk about video games without annoying somebody. Or maybe just people are generally annoyed.
People are always annoyed by something. Usually me.
Have like a Kit Kat and go on your porch and shout at some clouds, and then get all that rage out of your system. And also click on the subscribe button while you're there.
Hang on, you have a subscribe button on your porch? On your porch?
Yes.
Is it porch or Porsche? I can't remember.
Porsche is the automobile, and yeah, let's move on. Because this jovial intro belies the fact that we're talking about something probably a little bit serious this week.
Yeah, we're talking about viruses. Well, not computer viruses. We're talking about COVID-19 and the effect it's having on the video games industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's much more important, people's lives, people's livelihoods, this whole idea of this virus spreading through the world. I mean, admittedly, it's nowhere near as virile as other strains that have gone through the world.
But virile?
Yeah.
Is that the word to use?
That's the word I'm using, and I'm sticking with it. It's not as virile as other things that have went through the world. Its kill rate is pretty low, thankfully.
Yeah.
So it still has a massive effect on the world. So you can't dispute that or overlook that.
Yeah. What was it? The last time I looked, there was over 100,000 cases, and it was something like a 4% death rate.
Thankfully, it's very low. Thankfully.
Lower than they were predicting, but I think most of that is because people are taking precautions. But one of the results of those precautions has been the possible cancellation of E3.
Before that, it's already cancelled
South by Southwest,
GDC, Games Developers Conference, probably other things too. There's talk of wrestling events being done behind closed doors with no fans in, which would be haunting. The same with other football games. Italy has basically closed its doors.
Yeah.
So these sound very dramatic sort of doomsday clock things, but it's just precautions.
It is precautionary,
but it does have an effect. It does affect everything. So our framing device is the video game world. So we'll loop back around to that.
But I will be honest. I am very curious to see the video footage of a wrestling event in front of nobody.
It'd be bizarre.
Can you imagine if they have all of the fireworks and everything as they're coming on?
They'll have to have like a recording track of the crowd, just so it's broadcastable.
Yeah.
Because it'd be weird without it.
Unless they're live streaming it, but
I don't know. Something they'll have to like back out of and repeat things, because you can't have like a touring show and then get to your town and then, oh no, virus is here, can't do the show. But when's the next going to be in our town? That's very unfair. And that's just one of the things that happens with these sort of global outbreaks.
Well, not only that, I mean, one of the things that you shouldn't do is have your hand near your face or other people's hands near your face, whereas hands near the face is something that happens regularly in wrestling.
They'll all wear gloves. Any other gloves, just gloves. But anyway, video games, like we mentioned, there's all sorts of things will come from this. Games Developers Conference was cancelled, which is vital as a networking opportunity, so little independent companies can get distribution with bigger companies.
I mean, GDC is one of those big events mainly for the developers, and it's a shame that that's been cancelled. But again, you understand the reasons why.
Yeah, I can understand why. But E3 is the big one.
Yeah.
I mean, between us recording this and this show going out, it might have been cancelled. It's up in the air. But I think it may have to be.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it's going to have to be cancelled as well. And maybe, see, this is the thing. I'm of two minds about E3 because I'm thinking, because we know the PlayStation 5 is going to be delayed.
Yeah, I mean, it's distributed in China, and as you know, that was the place that was hit hardest and first.
Yeah.
It's come on the other side, but still, the effects of what happened there will... it's affecting our technology.
I mean, you just look at the stock market and the amount that the stock market's fallen by, and we're almost at the levels of the financial crisis 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Not in the same way.
We're almost at the same level, though.
Not in the same way.
Not in the same way, but it's had a massive effect.
But at the PlayStation 5, I'm going to put a prediction here and say it's going to be delayed till Q1 2021.
I'd say that's a fair bet. But the thing is, Sony weren't going to be at E3 anyway.
No, I mean, I think the byproduct of this is basically the end of E3.
That's... Well, see, this is the thing.
Because E3 is fine. E3, when I was growing up in games, I imagine, I don't know how old E3 is, but certainly in my youth, E3 was that one time of the year where you knew what was going to be coming out for the rest of the year. It was so exciting. It was like the World Cup for video games.
Yeah.
I can't really think of a good analogy, but yeah.
Well, E3 was one of those events where it was fun to watch. It was a show. It knew it was a show. And people were putting on more of a performance. And I'll be honest, the last...
decade.
Yeah, the last 10 years, I don't actually recall many occasions in E3 where it was an actual performance, where they were actually putting on a show.
Well, I think at times...
rather than just a demonstration.
E3 is well and good, but I think the concept of it has reached its limit, and it's one of these things where the COVID-19 coronavirus has moved something on a few years quicker than it probably would have. Because I don't think, I mean, there was talk of E3 this year, if it goes ahead, being a fan event aimed at influencers, and the entire internet just groaned and cringed. This is what E3's become? Really? You're going to get Johnny Influencer here to do the adverts on YouTube, which are before every video, and he talks about honey, and he's got 23 million subscribers, and I don't know who he is, and he always clicks skip ad whenever he's there. You're going to cater E3 to that sort of douche?
Yeah.
Oh, no. But at the same time, I think Nintendo led the way.
Nintendo did lead the way.
With their Direct, and I think everybody's going to be doing that. And coronavirus hitting the world like it has and cancelling events, I think is going to make that happen quicker.
See, here's the thing. I do agree with you. I think that E3 needs to, or ESA, who run E3, they need to really take a step back and think hard about the future of E3, because it can't continue as it is.
Well, last year, what was it last year or the year before, where they leaked a load of journalists' private information?
Yeah.
How will they survive that? I have no idea.
But see, the thing is, right, when you've got an event like E3, see, E3 basically rose to prominence on the back of the Apple conference, right? Before the Apple thing, before Steve Jobs started showing stuff like the iPhone as this big stage event.
Yeah.
That was when E3, when developers and publishers at E3 got the idea of doing the same thing, because Steve Jobs was doing it and it was successful for him.
It was.
But it's not as successful now. People are too used to it. Nobody really cares.
Only the hardcore of the hardcore watch. Everybody else watches the next day like a trailer reel of all the things that happened.
Exactly. Nobody watches E3 for those stage shows anymore, because those stage shows are actually quite dull.
Yeah, and I always get the guy who's a developer, and they say, okay, so you're going to go in front of this crowd of a couple of hundred people, thousands, maybe millions watching online, and you got to sell your game. And you always get this really sheepish guy who doesn't really sell it.
Yeah.
Because he's nervous. He's nervous as hell. Or she's nervous as hell.
But that's what I mean. That's why I can only remember a few occasions in the last 10 years when E3, when the actual stage show has been memorable. One of those occasions was where, what's-his-face from Sony, it was the year that Yu Suzuki was at E3 for the Shenmue thing.
Yeah.
And where, one of those occasions was basically where I think they basically just done the indie stuff for Devolver Digital, And then he's going through, so we've done this, and we've done this, and we've done this, right? And you could hear the smugness in his tone. And then he was like, but this is something that we were very, very interested in being part of. And then it came up with the Shenmue music. And that's the only reason I remember it, was the smugness and then the Shenmue music.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember from the last few years is the PlayStation 3 launch, when they said, this is how you trade games on
the PS4 one, yeah.
Having a rib at the PlayStation, Xbox One's disastrous launch.
But that's, again...
But that's 7 years ago now.
Yeah, but that's, again, a thing. That's when it was a show and not just a demonstration. Right now, it's a tech demonstration. Oh, look, this is what our console can do.
Yeah, I think the byproduct of coronavirus is E3 will be cancelled, and I don't think E3 can come back from that, really.
See, I'm of a different mindset. I think that E3 can come back, but I think ESA need to go back to the drawing board and have a serious think about what they want from E3. Because saying they want to make it a fan event, but then target it at influencers does not make it a fan event. A fan event is a fan event for the fans.
You want to look at some of the more successful fan events around the world. You want to look at the PAXs. You want to look at the Gamescoms. Cons, sorry. You want to look at stuff like... I mean, even in this country, EGX wants to look at stuff like that too.
Yeah. But I mean...
but EGX isn't struggling.
See, this is the thing, right? You have so many video game developers all over the world now, right? So many all over the world. And Steam is now doing that virtual games conference.
Yeah, I mean, Devolver Digital don't actually have a conference. It's more like a skit.
Yeah.
Nintendo do their directs.
Yeah.
PlayStation have their... I don't know what they call them. I think it's PlayStation Direct they call them.
Was it PlayStation Access or PlayStation Direct?
PlayStation Access is a YouTube channel.
Is it? I get confused.
PlayStation Direct, I think, and Xbox have one, but they're not really took off.
Yeah.
And I think this is the year where they're kind of forced for it to take off.
Yeah, but they've got to get the right personalities for it. You can't just have...
I mean, the Nintendo one, I think they nailed it. They know what they are, they know what they're doing. The PlayStation one, I don't know if you've seen any, the PlayStation Direct, it's basically a very... It's like the voice of somebody who's doing a voiceover track for an industrial company or an engineering company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense, because that's the kind of, this is our product, and our product does this.
Yeah.
And this, and
I mean,
this.
I think it's a woman.
You should buy our product if you want to wipe your buttocks.
And then it's like a trailer reel. But having like a physical personality on screen is vital for that sort of thing, I think. I mean, that's how Reggie became like a meme generator, didn't he?
Reggie was a total meme generator. I mean, standing on the stage and saying, "My body is ready."
Yeah, we've still got that now. That's still part of the lexicon.
Still a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how this is the thing. Devolver Digital with that Nina, whatever her name is, Smothers,
Nina Smothers. Yeah.
They tried to do something similar, but they kind of forced it a little bit too much.
The first one was funny.
Yeah.
It had a sort of like a era's E3 conference, but all the anarchy.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, haha, people found our joke funny. We're going to really lean into this. And when somebody knows the funny, that's when you get at it. Or knows that people... Hang on. I'm trying to take a complicated route to say it, and that's how you get Adam Sandler. But I've got the components on a pile here. So let's just muggle them together and assume that I said something witty, and then say, and that's how you get Adam Sandler.
Yes.
Or even worse, Rob Schneider.
He went there.
You can do it.
No, you can't, Rob Schneider.
No,
you definitely can't.
Oh, what was the other one? The one who was in Paul Blart Mall Cop. I think that's the... Yeah, keep it there. This is how you get a Paul Blart Mall Cop.
I don't even know that guy's name.
Neither do I. But... yeah, the video game industry is going to be affected. There's no denying that. There's no PlayStation news past the release of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, but
then that gap between then and the end of the year is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, right? Just to put a bright spin on this, I will say, for those people who are having to stay away from work or having to stay at home, from school or college or university, they can't go to whatever event. And I'm not saying that they've got COVID-19, right? I'm not saying they're self-isolating because they've got bigger things to worry about at that point. But they're basically, their schools are closed or anything like that, right? Now's a good time to explore video games, not just play the ones that you're used to. There's a lot of games out there that are worthy of attention.
Yeah.
And, if you got the time, why not just dive in and have a look around? There are loads of indie games out there that are really good.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like every time things get weird on this show, it turns into an advert for indie games.
Because there's so many that are, there's so many that are interesting.
I mean, I've got a pile of about 12 that I've yet to play.
Arise, that story about the old man.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, mine are at the front of my list. I mean, recently I bought, on the PlayStation sale, I got Firewatch for like $2.99.
Yeah.
And not everybody's gone to the Rapture. Oh, no, yeah, it was Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. I got Everyone's Gone to the Rapture for like $3.99.
Yeah.
You just keep an eye out for these sales, and you get insane deals like this.
Yeah.
I remember on PlayStation 3, I got Ni no Kuni for $2.99.
But
it's like, whoa, that's a good deal.
This is the thing, though.
Look around, find something you wouldn't usually look at.
Yeah, Deliver Us the Moon. A cracking game, or rather, a cracking experience, right? Very short. It's not a long experience at all, but it's memorable.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Sexy Brutal on my list to play.
Exactly.
Which looks fun. All sorts. Very untraditional experiences as well.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying have a look at the indie games market. It's inexpensive. It doesn't take up a lot of time. There are really interesting, really inventive, really innovative.
I mean, just to loop around to give further context, I believe that the PlayStation 5 is not the only thing that's going to be delayed. I think a lot of things will actually get a few month delay.
Yeah.
Because having people in collective groups where they're all sort of milling about their sort of hives for illness.
Yeah.
Schools are the worst. You will pick anything up in schools. And I imagine development companies are the same because, as the stereotype goes, they're not the most hygienic places. The stereotype suggests, anyway. So I imagine some of the bigger games, some of the more bigger production team games might get delayed.
You're thinking the likes of Cyberpunk and that?
No, I think Cyberpunk's too far in the process to be delayed again now. It's just finishing touches. I think more like the sort of annualised, like your FIFAs, your Call of Duties, your stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they might struggle and they might be delayed a little bit, but that might also be good because, I don't know.
See, I don't understand.
Gives them a bit of breathing room.
I don't understand why they don't just make Call of Duty and Battlefield a sport now.
There's a YouTube channel from an ex-2K employee who worked, not 2K, he used to work on the games for WWE, called Violent Lee.
Yeah.
And he had a brilliant idea of how to actually make the WWE game work. He says you release it once every 2 years at a reduced price. And every 2 months you play $9.99 and you get all the new characters, you get all the new modes. And it's a consistent process like that. And you get play online and all that sort of stuff.
See, that works. It's
and the rosters are updated removed.
I actually think that's better because that a subscription model would work for the WWE game.
It'd also work for the FIFA games. It'd also work for all the like annualized sporting titles.
Yeah, but my point is, with the number of Call of Duty and Battlefield games that come out, right?
Yeah.
Why not just make them a sport, right? Just make the whole idea of shooting someone in the head a sport, right? Virtually shooting someone in the head.
Yeah, good that you climbed down from that.
Virtually shooting someone in the head a sport, and just say, right, so we're not going to call it Battlefield 1 or Battlefield World War 2 or anything like that, or Call of Duty World at War or anything. We're just going to go, it's 2020, so it's Battlefield 20, it's Call of Duty 20. Next year it'll be Call of Duty 21 and Battlefield 21.
Well, basically, you've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
May as well finalise it. But what we're saying here is coronavirus COVID-19 does look very, very scary. But prediction here, I think by the end of summer it'll all be a memory.
Yeah.
Because China's already coming out of it. Its numbers aren't in the thousands of a day, they're in tens a day. So I think by the summer we'll be over this and it'll be service as usual, but things will be affected by that.
Yes.
And it's just looking on the bright side of things, not just because the press are the worst in this. The worst thing about a breakout like this is panic.
Yeah.
And the press push the panic and they sell the panic. Just calm down. There's always a silver lining to these things.
It depends on what press. I mean, if it's
mainstream press.
If you're talking about things like the Daily Mail website, where clickbait,
TV as well, TV news
to a lesser degree, I'd say because the Daily Mail website is the most read news website in the UK.
The most racist as well, because apparently asylum seekers are going to lower your house price.
Yeah, I know. But this is the thing. The Daily Mail is a tabloid newspaper. You cannot trust anything it says. But they get it because people can't resist clickbait. You won't believe how so-and-so looks after contracting COVID, whatever.
This is supposed to be a video game show, and we kind of darted all over the place, haven't we?
Yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, this topic, we're talking about something that affects all aspects of your life, not just video games. So
as much as you'd like to separate them into little compartments, you can't.
Yeah. But as we did say, if you are having to stay at home, explore video games. It's something to do, and it'll keep you occupied. It'll take your mind off things. The world isn't ending.
No, we've had much worse.
Yeah. And EA, do what I said. Turn them into like, because I'm looking forward to playing COD Blops 21.
How about we end this on a nice note and recommend an indie game for people to play?
Okay, yes.
Have you got one?
I have a couple, but I'd say if you're after an interesting procedurally generated dungeon crawler, which has multiple combat modes, an interesting story, and some nice pixelated graphics, then Children of Mortar.
Yeah, that's very, very good. And I'm just going to say what I've been playing recently, because it's not indie, but it is indie. But it's the sort of game which for all Rush is an indie, and it's the sort of game which you can sort of take a funny side of, like illness, and just sort of lose yourself in it. But 2 Point Hospital,
which is the spiritual successor to Theme Hospital.
Yeah, and it's also very goofy. It's got a pandemic in which people have pans on their head, and you've got to get rid of them. And if that doesn't make you look on the silly side of life, I don't know what possibly could.
I think 2 Point Hospital wins given the circumstances.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Sorry about the rambly episode. It'll be back to normal service next week.